Today we're going to talk about a tool called What Value Do You Add? This tool is useful when you are asking yourself as a company, what value do we add in the chain of value from the raw materials to the end consumer? What value do you add? How much of that total value should you draw? To understand this question, you must first of all understand the value chain. Let me give you a little story. I used to run a company called Planar Systems, a flat panel display company. We decided to sell flat panel monitors, flat panel monitors you'd connect to a computer. Now, we didn't actually manufacture them. In fact, by the way, nobody does. I mean, the guys in China manufacture all those. We bought them in China, we shipped them over, and we sold them here. And we sold them through a distribution channel. So let me give you the value chain of all the players involved and how much money they make. First person in this value chain is the person who builds the glass. When you have a plasma display, a huge TV screen, well, there's a huge piece of glass that somebody built. There are four, they're built in a thing called a fab, a fabrication manufacturing facility. These fabs are very expensive. Today, a modern fab costs $8 billion. That is billion as in boy. $8 billion. There are 4 fabs in the world, none in the Western world. None in Europe, none in North America. 2 in Taiwan and 2 in Korea. Not even Japan has one of the modern ones. $8 billion. And they produce these glass, just a piece of glass, not the frame and all the electronics, just a piece of glass. And they sell it, they get gross margins of negative 5%. Negative 5%. In other words, they sell a piece of glass for 5% less than it cost them to produce it. Now, why would they do something like that? Well, here's the reason. They got free capital. The $8 billion investment, that was funded by the government. So they don't have any cost of capital. So when you take the cost of capital out, they make money. Now, why would the government do that? Because it creates an industry in their country supporting that kind of electronics. And so both Taiwan and Korea made a strategic decision that the flat panel industry is going to be a huge industry that they're going to help create, and they succeeded. That is why, by the way, you don't have a fab, a modern fab, anywhere in North America or Europe, because our countries don't provide that subsidy. So now what happens to that piece of glass? Somebody in Taiwan has a business manufacturing these monitors. By the way, you don't know any of the names. None of them actually sell with their name on them. And by the way, all the names you do know, everybody, including Samsung, NEC, Toshiba, Apple, IBM, ViewSonic, Planar included, Dell, none of them make their own monitors. They all go to those guys in Taiwan. So there's 100 companies in Taiwan who buy the glass from the 4 fabs, and they do the electronics, and they build a monitor. And they will put your name on it, anybody's name. So we would go there and we would say, we would like 100,000 of that kind of monitor. They'll put Planar's name on it. Now their business consists of buying the glass. They have factories in China. They have 5,000 people working in the factories. They get people from inside China somewhere. They bring them to the factory location. They house these people for 8-9 months. They feed them every day. They produce these monitors, and they sell it to us for 4% gross margin. 4%. Wow. Not much money to be made there, huh? Well, we buy those monitors. We get Planar's name on it. Dell does the same thing. Dell puts its name on it. And we sell them. I sell it to a company called CDC or PC Connection, PC Warehouse. I sell it to these companies. We take inventory FOB Taiwan. We hold that inventory across the ocean. It takes 3 weeks for it to cross the ocean. The prices of monitors, by the way, in the heydays, they used to be falling 5% a month. We take the risk on the price decline. Over 3 weeks in the ocean, I've already lost a certain amount of the 8% margin I have. This stuff rots like bananas. We get 8% gross margin. We have inventory exposure. We have price exposure. We sell it to companies like CDW, PC Connection, PC Warehouse. These companies buy it. They get price protection, by the way. So if price drops, they send it back to me. I have to return the payment. They get inventory protection. If they can't sell it, they send it back to me. And they get 15% gross margin. They don't hold inventory. They have no exposure. They get 15% gross margin. So you ask yourself, why is it that the guy in Taiwan and Korea who spent $8 billion to put up a fab gets a negative 5% gross margin? Why is it that the guy in China who's assembled 5,000 people, feeds them and houses them, gets 4% gross margin? Why is it that a company like Planar, who takes all the financial risk, gets 8% gross margin, and yet the end guy who sells it to the customer, who has none of these risks, gets 15% gross margin? How is that fair? And why is that the case? What value does each of us add? Well, the beauty is this. The end guy who's got access to the customer, he adds the greatest value, because without him, you will never be able to sell your product. He adds, so the closer you are to the customer, the more value you add. So you have to ask yourself, how far is the end customer from where you are? The closer you are to the end customer, the more value you add. That is why, if you go into Walmart and you look at a box of Kleenex, you'll find that in the chain of value, Walmart gets the bulk of the value on that Kleenex box. In your own business, in your own business, ask yourself, what value do we add? Understand the value chain. Understand the entire supply chain and ask, what value is each person adding? You'll find that the closer you are to the customer, the more value you add. When you do that analysis, you'll find that there might be ways to get closer to the customer. There might be ways to get more connected to the end customer that allows you to get closer. If you do that, you can add more value. In your business, ask yourself, what value do we add?